You ready to do this, Stu?
I am so ready to do this, Spencer. Punch it, Chewy.
Welcome, super friends, to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my co-pilot is Stu Jones.
Woohoo! How's it going, man?
It's doing good, man. We're just two nerds that refuse to grow up. Thank you for joining us. This is episode number 76. We release every Thursday morning. You can find us at our website, fortofnerd.com. We have links to iTunes, Google Music, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, and everywhere podcasts are available. Plus, you can listen to it right on the site. Stop by, relax a while. If you like what you're hearing, hit that subscribe button and get us automatically each and every week in your ear hole. Stu, welcome back once again. You are home. You are here.
I am home.
How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm a little beat. Before we started prepping for the show, I literally walked in the door no more than 5 minutes before that, coming back from Portland, getting ready to go back again Thursday morning. I love what I do, but I tell you, sometimes just got to take a break. I've been looking forward to doing the show, though. It's going to be good.
Nice. So what's happened to you in the last week since we last talked? Have you been to Avengers Infinity War again?
I have been to Avengers Infinity War again. I went with Justin, my movie buddy.
Yeah.
It was the second time for both of us. Can
we just call him Movie Buddy Justin?
That's his name. I actually forced him to change it on his birth certificate. So
because then we can call him MBJ, like RDJ.
He is now MBJ. He's not even going to have a clue what that's about. But but no, it was good to see him because we definitely break it down. We analyze everything. It was the second time for both of us. We got those details that you missed the first time. Yes. The theater was great. The sound was great. People were still well behaved, which is surprising. Like,
yeah.
I mean, usually you've got somebody, but everyone's just so engrossed in all those things that we can't really talk about right now, and we already did last week. But it was good. I did make a claim last week that it had taken the top spot for me over Winter Soldier.
Uh-huh.
I had suspected that may not hold true. Kind of seeing that. I would say it's about equal right now, but it's definitely so plot-rich where Winter Soldier was so action-heavy that I do suspect that Winter Soldier may take it back over. But right now it's pretty equal. I did enjoy it thoroughly. Again, probably going to see it a few more times, but not on Movie Pass. Oh, no.
No, not on Movie Pass. Not anymore.
Jerks. But yeah. But then, so I go, I've got a client, I go on site, I go up in Portland, and I got to hang out with my older daughter. Her birthday's coming up next week. So we went to this big Cinco de Mayo thing on the Willamette River, which was really just a cash grab for everything. But it was fun just to go and people watch and do all that kind of stuff. But she had not seen Infinity War yet. She's not a huge comic person, but she's liked a few of them. But so I floated her a little extra cash, got a commitment from her to see the movie. They were supposed to see it this coming weekend, but I got a Marco Polo message from her today. They were in the theater. They're going to see it tonight. I'm excited to get the feedback from her on that.
Nice. Isn't it nice to try to encourage others to here, go do this. This is worth your time.
Yeah.
It's very satisfying, I find, when I recommend a book or recommend a movie to someone, and I love it and I have this passion, and then finally someone I recommends it to goes and partakes of it, sees it, reads it, listens to it, whatever it may be, plays a game, whatever, and then they come back and oh my, how did I ever live without this in my life? Thank you. And I take so much joy in that moment going, yes, I've kindled nerd love for something else in someone else, and I love that.
Yeah, well, she's not a big, she's not really a nerd. There have been some things she liked. She definitely really, really liked Doctor Strange, so fist bump to her for that.
Nice.
Black Panther, she didn't really enjoy at all. She expected actually that I wouldn't enjoy. She's dead wrong, like almost everything else in life. But no, I actually expect that she's going to come out of this liking it based on a few things from the movies. So I'll definitely I'll give a follow-up to that, but we'll see how it goes. I hope she enjoys herself. It's definitely worth seeing.
Nice. My week has been like crazy bonkers crazy. Of course, like I always say, I'm a dad of two small, young boys, and so they run me around and they're kind of crazy. But like this last week, like, oh gosh, like over the weekend, like I had no plans. Okay, I'm gonna start this to say I had no plans on Saturday.
That's
like,
the worst.
I'm gonna get up. I'm going to try to get up late. I'm going to get a little bit of exercise in like I always do. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm just going to relax. However, for some reason, I don't know why, but my wife, Brita, and I had been talking about maybe eventually using this little bit of land that's right next to our house in the side yard and maybe planting like a little vegetable garden. And so
nice.
I got up and I was like, you know what? I got to do this thing. I got to run my motorcycle to the shop because the starter was acting up weird, which is a whole nother thing because they said they fixed it later the day, and I ended up taking it into the shop today because it still wasn't working right. So I'm without Drogon, my black dragon
Your
motorcycle.
Trusty steed.
Yes, which makes me very sad. So anyway, we did that first thing Saturday morning, and then we said, okay, let's go to J&J Nursery. It's a local nursery, and she wanted to get some new flowers to put in the front flower bed area and kind of like redo it because we bought flowers a year ago and they're not what we wanted. I decide, hey, I'm going to get some sod and I'm going to dig out that place in the front yard where our sprinkler pipe burst and we had a lake last summer and the grass has never kind of grown back quite right, and no matter how much seed I put down, it just won't take. So I said, okay, I'm going to get some sod. Then we decided to get some vegetables. We got some tomatoes and some cucumbers and some strawberries and a raspberry bush and some green bell peppers. And we ended up coming and spending all dang day in the yard, like digging up the ground and putting sod in and redoing flower beds and planting a raspberry bush and then all these other stuff, in this little garden plot. Okay, that's Saturday. Sunday's a more relaxing day. I do use the pit barrel cooker.
Well, okay, good.
I smoked 2 whole chickens and 2 pork tenderloins. Delicious.
Yeah, where's our pre-show meals? I thought we were supposed to do that. That was a perk I swear was in my contract.
It was ready, but you weren't ready because you just got off the plane. Sorry, yeah.
Jeez.
Let's plan on something maybe this weekend. I'll have you. Oh no, wait, you're going to be in Portland this weekend.
Well, no,
Dang.
I'm going Thursday, but I'm also coming back Thursday. That's going to be fun.
We'll make a plan. I'll have you over, I promise. We'll do this.
We got some D&D planning to take care of as well.
And we do have to do that as well. And anyway, so craziness, right? I had this idea Sunday. I walk and I was like, let me go look at this new garden and see how much sun it's getting. I realized the side of the house that it was on literally keeps all those vegetables in the shade pretty much all day long, except for like right at noon. So Monday after work, I come home and I say, you know what? Let's go to Home Depot. Let's buy one of those pre-made kind of, raised garden boxes and we'll put it together. And we had to get like 9 bags of like potting soil mix. They're like 50 pounds each. And I load all this in the truck and we go out and we sat in the backyard and I taught my boys how to toast marshmallows and we made s'mores.
That's funny. We made s'mores last week, but we made them in the microwave. So.
Oh, well, yeah. I literally got like 6 little briquettes, put them in this little dish, and then lit it awesome. and got them going. It was one of those moments where I was trying to teach them like how to toast a marshmallow and how this is the best part of camping, so that they understand that like camping equals s'mores. So if we ever want to get them into camping at all, like they're good with that.
Some of that positive classic conditioning going on.
That's right. But it was a great like father and son moment. Like I got to hold my boys and show them like how to do the thing. And then they went in and I went back out to work and I loaded every single one of those 9 bags, hauled them into the backyard myself, and opened them all up and dumped all the soil in there and was kind of raking it all kind of flat when my wife Brita came back out to help me move all the stuff. And I realized at that moment, I hauled 450 pounds worth of dirt, and I never once took a break. I never once stopped. I just would go get the next one, come back, drop it. Go get the next one, come back, drop it. And then once I had them all, then I opened them all up, dumped it all in. And I realized that this was the first time that I had conscious thought of that I did something that's physically strenuous that is different than what it would have been at the beginning of this year. At the beginning of this year, I would have hauled maybe 2 and probably had to come inside for a 15-minute break and, need probably like a gallon of water.
Yeah, if you ever want a reminder of what that looks and feels like, I'll come over and try to help. And I'm talking like halfway trip for each bag kind of thing.
Yeah. No, it was just this really kind of cool, surreal moment when I was like, I'm doing something that I couldn't do, 4 or 5 months ago, and it felt good, and I was able to accomplish something. I realized I still had energy, and I did all that, and like I went to bed and I slept great that night because I was tired and I was a little sore, but I mean, it was just this wonderful moment. I realized that, I'm giving myself more possibilities to do other things and opening more doors back up to life that maybe had previously been closed.
Do you think maybe it's your superpower starting to manifest?
Oh gosh, I hope so. I mean, Stu, I hope so.
All right. Well, live from Krypton this week.
Right, exactly. So anyway, my week's crazy. Work has been crazy. Today we moved our office space downstairs at the end of the day. A week ago, if you remember, I just moved our office spaces upstairs, and then they asked us to move downstairs. So I've moved my entire office and my coworkers' offices twice in about a week period. So that happened. That was a little nuts.
Was it into a boiler room with a red stapler?
That's kind of how it feels. Yeah. It's a better location for us, and it's going to work out better for the client that we share, or we're in their building. It's better all around. But we did have to make 2 moves inside of a week.
Well,
so,
you are starting to get your superpowers. If you display strength in appropriate ways, they may bow down.
Manifesting powers. Yep. I love that. Other than that, man, let's get into some Rebel Intelligence. What do you say? Let's get this train going.
Yes.
I always have to let you know, many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
All right, we are into Rebel Intelligence. Stu, what do you have for me this week?
Well, I'll tell you, it feels like this week we're kind of like revisiting some of like the first episode that I came into it. And I don't know if you remember episode 71. One of the Rebel Intelligence items was the common in Fortnite.
I do remember that.
A lot of speculation about what that actually means here. Reddit going absolutely crazy. I don't know that anyone could have really expected what that all kind of came down to.
Now, if you recall, I made a prediction that the comet was going to hit and was going to basically like change a bunch of maps and make, some new playable areas or something. That was my prediction. How wrong or right was I?
You were partially right.
Okay.
There was one map that changed. What one was that? So, some part of the storm safe zone. But it delivers something.
Ooh.
It delivers the Infinity Gauntlet.
Get out.
No kidding.
Really?
You can you pick up the Infinity Gauntlet and you become Thanos.
What? The Mad Titan.
The Mad Titan. So you pick this up. It changes things. I don't know if they've done anything like this before. I haven't looked at any of the characters. I don't know if there's been special events. Obviously, I'm not big into Fortnite, and I was just kind of picking up the whole idea of it when we talked about it before. But
yeah.
But Thanos, he doesn't build anything.
Okay.
And he doesn't.
Which is good because I don't like building.
Yeah, I imagine that would be like fun the first time until you actually try to build something and then you get headshot over and over again and try to get.
I know that
beat
the
into
building
submission.
mechanic, like once you start building something, like they can't shoot through it right away. So like it is a defense. You can use it defensively, but I personally don't care for it. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No,
He can't build.
No, it's interesting. I mean, I would love to try. I've got to try it at some point, but I just know it's going to be like, okay, well, that was fun 5 minutes later after losing 3 matches. But so Thanos, he does not build anything. He also doesn't heal. I don't know if healing is something that you typically will do.
No, you get shot like 2 or 3 times and you're done.
Gotcha. Well, he can't heal for whatever that's worth, but he does have shields. So every time he eliminates somebody, his shields replenish.
Wow.
If you eliminate Thanos, then the gauntlet falls to the ground. Someone else can pick it up. I wonder how many people are like winning their matches as Thanos, or if that's kind of like the primary target. See, what I would have happen is someone would grab it. Everyone else would go crazy to go kill Thanos. And those are the people I would pick off.
No. Like you just sit tight and let them weed themselves out. Like let
I would
stupid
wait
out.
till they were almost dead, of course.
Okay, yeah.
I'm a coward. It's fine. But yeah, so you get to play Thanos. There's apparently some like extra drops that happen that are direct. They're not necessarily extra drops, but the drops are like the rare stuff only. Increased chances of things like shield and sneakiness stuff. I don't know. I would love to just kind of see that and maybe take part in it once or twice. I don't really care about the game itself, but that sounds like pretty fun. And I can't imagine that anybody called that like that at all.
No. Well, because look at it like this, right? Fortnite, you can basically get for free and play the Battle Royale mode, which is what most people are doing. So the fact that they would do a crossover event with like Marvel, that's kind of crazy. I mean, granted, Fortnite is like the largest like kind of battle royale game right now. I mean, it is. I mean, PUBG was really big for a while, but like Fortnite's become the thing, and so it makes sense as far as maybe like I guess in that respect, knowing like that's the big thing that most people are playing right now. That it's got a lot of active community in it. But it just seems at the same time like a free game with a Marvel crossover. Like when you look at it that way, it just seems a little interesting that maybe that they chose to do it. But dude, this has got me excited. Like I've played a little bit. I want to play more of it, but I also want to get back to God of War and other stuff that I'm doing. So
what I want to see is the actors that play the Avengers playing Fortnite against Thanos.
Oh, that would be so good. That would be so good.
Yep.
My guess is what's his face? Josh Brolin.
Oh, right.
would be horrible at this. I just he doesn't strike me as the video game type. Whereas like Don Cheadle, I could see him picking a controller up and doing pretty well. I'm just saying. I
don't know. We've got the Chris Triad. They may give him a run for his money if they can work together.
Hemsworth, Evans, so. Chris Pratt, I bet you he would be really good at this game.
Yeah, and he would have all kinds of inappropriate behavior once he took him down. So.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Speaking of inappropriate behavior, I think this is the perfect segue to talk about Deadpool, and most importantly, so I love the whole idea of Deadpool who breaks the fourth wall and does goofy stuff. So just this last Thursday to be exact, the movie Deadpool 2 just released a music video. And of course, this isn't going to be like a normal music video. This is going to be something like, action shots, stuff of the from the movie. No, they got Celine Dion to record a song and do a music video. And of course, you got Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool in this music video. I have watched this thing many times since then. It is out there. Go YouTube it. Deadpool 2.
They really should have named it Deadpool Tool.
Deadpool right? Tool. Deadpool Tool. Celine Dion. The song is called Ashes. It debuted on Good Morning America, of all places.
Of course.
And you get to see Deadpool walking around doing like a sexy dance with like high heels on. and, kind of dancing around. And then, of course, Celine Dion gets a little jibe and a little dig in at Deadpool right at the very end.
Yeah.
So this is like the goofy, like ridiculous stuff that I love about Deadpool, the character. I don't know that this really enhances the movie in any way, but it definitely makes me want to go see the movie more. So,
well, so there's two things. I mean, well, you've got the Canadian connection, of course,
Right. Yep.
So there's two thoughts that I had come out of this. So the first is that I have to wonder if it's really Ryan Reynolds dancing around, because he's got some moves, or whoever's in the costume. It wouldn't surprise me if it was, but I mean, we don't really know, right?
True.
So it could be someone. I mean, he's in heels, dancing around like that. So that it was definitely a treat to watch, and I do love the little jibe at the end of that where she calls him Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of a classic little dig on him, right?
Yeah.
But more importantly is, like, I love Ryan Reynolds' approach to Deadpool, and the freedom, the carte blanche that he's been given to take it, because it would be very easy to overplay the fourth wall element in the movie.
Yes.
There are a couple comments here and there, but it's never really totally in your face. But we get all that treatment of everything outside of the movie itself. Deadpool is Ryan Reynolds in this, and he does some pretty outlandish stuff. A lot of it's his own design. It's pretty phenomenal to see him take that character and that character to be a part of the pop culture and the lead into the movies.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Definitely worth seeing. Go watch the video. And the song's pretty catchy too. Like, the song's not a bad song. I mean, for Celine Dion, I mean, I'm not a fan of hers, but I was like, this is, I've listened to worse, okay? Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I have too, but oh my gosh. Well, she did what was that? She did the soundtrack to one of the Robin Hood movies, right? Or the lead song. Oh. No, never mind. I'm thinking of Bryan Adams did the one.
Oh, Bryan Adams definitely is 1991's Prince of Thieves starring Kevin Costner.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're all the same to me, really. I mean, this is not my genre of music, but let's pretend that it was Celine Dion. So there's the, have you heard much about the new Robin Hood movie?
No, I know it's got the kid that's in what's that called? The Kingsman movie. Yeah.
Right, which I actually liked a lot. I actually only caught those this last year.
I've only seen the first one. I haven't seen the second.
Yeah, I saw the trailers for the second one, and which then prompted me to watch the first one, and I watched them both kind of almost back to back through questionable methods. Did not movie past them.
Gotcha.
But no, they were good. But so you've got who else is that? Jamie Foxx in there. Anyway, so they dropped their first trailer for this. Couple thoughts. I don't know if you've seen this, but they use very heavy use of CGI to do the action sequences and the bow firing stuff.
Really?
There's this article that kind of mocks it a little bit, and it just looks off. So they have this kind of rapid fire, how he shoots them. And it's like the arrow's already left the bow before he's even pulled it a little bit so he can get some rapid fire. It looks horrible. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
But even more is like looking at the action sequences, it looks like they really wanted to try to take from Assassin's Creed or video game style action sequences. Not cinematic, but very definitively like this is how you pull it off if you hit XB and then follow it right up with B. And it's terrible. I can't even get away from it.
Yeah. I'm okay with CG. I mean, obviously I just saw Avengers Infinity War, which has got
CGI
tons
in
of
that?
CG. Yeah, I think Thanos, I don't think Josh Brolin really, his chin really looks like that.
I thought it was all on location. It's just makeup, right? Don't break the fourth wall for me there.
It's just a flesh wound. I'm okay with some CGI, but like if it's that bad that like even in the trailer, people are saying like, "Hey, this doesn't look good," and like it doesn't even look realistic. Like I think CGI is good if you use it to show like how something would work, or things that still are bound within the laws of reality of which we are familiar with. Or if that's not the case, you've set up like this otherworldly, like, hey, in this universe, you can do this. And you set the frame, right? So it makes sense.
Or even new landscapes that are just not possible. I mean, like when you show other planets, there's obviously you want to try to, they've used very good use of some real life locations in the Star Wars movies.
Yes.
That's a good example. But like we talk about Infinity War, they're just places that are part of that universe that you can't really replicate anywhere.
Right. But if we're getting down to like we're using it to show bow and arrow action and the arrow's already left the bow and he hasn't plucked the string yet, that's just bad. Like that's just dumb. Why go like just have the freaking actor go and take some lessons on how to actually shoot the dang thing and then CGI the arrow after he does that, actually have him pull the bowstring back or whatever. I don't know.
The whole thing, even like the costumes, it kind of looks like they're trying to take Robin Hood and do kind of like a Knight's Tale treatment to it. Just like a little modernized. They're speaking pretty modern lingo.
Hold on. Boo! Don't do that. No.
It's the Robin Hood we deserve.
Oh, I don't like that. Speaking of things we deserve, I think everyone deserves this next thing. So there's some gentlemen, some British gentlemen. Let's call them inventors. Let's say they're true inventors, right? They're kind of this DIY types. Colin Furze and James Bruton. They built a DIY version of the Hulkbuster armor. This thing stands 11 feet tall. It's in Furze's backyard. They did it like in their little workshop there. There's a video of it. Like it's okay. So it's got like hydraulic pumps in this thing. It's got, like joysticks that they use to control it. It does all this cool stuff. It's got a built-in flamethrower. However, here's the thing. The suit doesn't walk. You can't take it anywhere. So you know what that says to me? That thing is stuck in his backyard. It's impressive. It looks amazing. And you see this thing and it's just, it's phenomenal looking.
I'm looking at it now.
But what are you going to do with that thing? You're not, if it doesn't walk, how are you going to take it to cons?
S'mores. You're going to make s'mores.
Hey, boys, here's the best part of camping. You get a Hulkbuster suit and toast some marshmallows.
Well, maybe they have Bruce Banner held captive in that thing as well.
Yeah. Speaking of which, do you want to hear a really bad dad joke?
I want to hear a really bad dad joke. The question is do my daughters want to hear a really bad dad joke? Because that's the next course of action. So why didn't they put advertisements on the Hulk during Avengers Infinity War? Uh-oh.
Because, they should have, because essentially he's just a giant banner. Come on, man. It's Bruce Banner, Incredible Hulk-related dad joke humor.
Well, they're going to hear it. I'll give you the feedback next week.
Yeah. So
they'll hate me, but yeah.
I am not the author of that. I am not, but I saw it on the Married to the Games community. They were doing some dad jokes just recently, and I thought that was a pretty good one related to Marvel properties. Anyway. Yeah.
Well, my Morgana, the 7-year-old, she has not seen Infinity Wars. I'm still on the fence on whether she's seen the others. She's had a couple difficult moments at some of the more intense stuff.
Sure.
I, for reasons I can't really go into without spoiling more stuff, I don't know that she's ready. But I would be a poor father if I didn't introduce that to her in some way. So maybe I'll wait for the Chinese version and
or like the Taiwanese CGI reenactment version.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Or live action Infinity Wars on Broadway.
Ooh, there you go. Just wait, James Corden will do it. He'll do
I'm
something
sure.
like that.
I'd see it. I'm all right.
Yeah. All right, what else you got?
So also from pulling out from the episode 71 vault, we had talked about Bill and Ted, speculation about them kind of making a third movie, and who would pick it up, and so unfortunately, I can't even go there. It's awesome. It's happening. MGM's going to pick it up. It's official.
Yes!
They're in pre-production for. What I don't like is the title still. I'll say it. Bill and Ted Face the Music, but it's a reality. They're signed. It's going forward.
Yeah. The title could always change. That could change.
It won't.
Probably not, but it could. I mean, that's because marketing could get a hold of that and change the title of the movie, right towards the end. That's
true.
happened in other movies before.
We could end up with Revenge of the Jedi.
Right? Or do you remember what was the name of that movie? It was a Tom Cruise movie. And, what do they call Edge of Tomorrow. Like the movie was called Edge of Tomorrow. And then for whatever reason, like it didn't do super great in the theater, I think. And so when they released it to video, they changed the name of the movie because like the tagline was Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat. Then they actually changed the name of the movie, I think, to Live, Die, Repeat.
That's
Look
dumb.
it up. It's a thing. So
I'm afraid.
It could be. Okay.
But yeah, so they've got
That's
I
awesome.
think it's even the same
Excellent.
writers. Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
But yeah, so that's a real thing. It's supposedly they're gonna release it US and Canada under Orion Pictures. MGM owns it. I was wondering how that was going to go because that was one of the things, if you remember, that I was saying that someone owns the rights to it, and it's really going to be whether they decide to kind of let it go or not. So I'm glad that they gave it the green light. Things are moving forward. Hopefully, in about a year from now, we'll be having a Bill and Ted movie club.
I just want to say that the child inside of me is playing air guitar right now.
I can kind of hear it.
I'm so excited for this. So I'm a big fan of Superman.
No.
I mean, I like the Man of Steel. What can I say? Something that's really interesting to me. Anytime a new actor is chosen to play Superman, you got to have they bring in someone. They do the thing where they always like have them read the lines. They do the look, but inevitably it comes down to one thing and almost one thing only in the very end. Like this is always the deciding factor.
British accents.
Yes, definitely.
Oh.
Hello, governor. I'm going to fly yonder and save that kitty from the tree.
Let's go protect the colonies.
No, what it really comes down to is they always do a screen test. And the screen test is, how does this actor look dressed as Superman? Do they look like Superman? So a little while ago, there was maybe like a year ago or so, a little bit more, there was a screenshot, a picture of Henry Cavill, who was basically looked like he was in a dressing room, sitting down, wearing a Superman costume. Well,
Which makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense because you got to do that, right? Zack Snyder, who basically, did Man of Steel and then did Batman v Superman and then did part of, Justice League. Basically, just this last week, shared a picture from that original screen test and said that this was the picture that convinced Warner Brothers that Cavill was the man to wear the trunks and to wear the cape. And what's really interesting to me, because my love of Superman goes back to the 1978 film with Christopher Reeve.
Mm-hmm.
This shot is actually of Henry Cavill wearing the original Christopher Reeve 1978 suit. And it looks like he's up on like a kind of an elevated position because you can kind of see some maybe some mountain ranges in the back or some sort of broken hills. And he's being lit from one side, but part of him's still kind of in shadow, and you can see the cape flying, kind of fluttering behind him. And he's just kind of stoically looking off into the distance, like he's observing the world around him, and he's watching for injustice. And this picture is phenomenal, and he looks great in it. Of course, what looks really interesting is then you can look at a picture of Christopher Reeve wearing this suit, and of course the way they shot it makes it look a lot darker with Henry Cavill. But I love that. The benchmark for a Superman for the screen test is not how does he look in the most recent version of the Superman costume. It's how does he look as Christopher Reeve's version of Superman? Because in my mind, film-wise, that's the bar. That's where the bar is set, because he had the look, he had the mannerism, he had kind of that like warmth to his character, and I like that he's still the bar, because he was my Superman as a child and still is my Superman in my heart.
Yeah, he's definitely the benchmark. And when you think about iconography, what do you think of when you see this? You see a Superman emblem. It's not just that you see, hey, that's Superman. It's you immediately think, everything that you can think about Superman, higher, leap tall buildings, all the things that come with that, the accoutrements of the idea, and whoever is wearing that suit, it can't contrast. It's not even like, do you look good in that? It's like you have to look at that suit and not see a conflict.
Right.
And that's a high bar. I mean, Christopher Reeves, whether you like the later ones, they were like, what, 5?
4.
That's where there were 5.
Superman 2, Superman 3, Superman
let me guess.
4.
Superman. I was going to say Superman 4. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, but that's he was a Superman we grew up with. Even if they've given him different treatment since, I personally am rather fond of Cavill's Superman. I know that's not the most popular opinion with some groups of people, but
I really like his Superman. I think he plays Superman very well. I think that the movies he's played Superman in, because I'm not a massive Zack Snyder fan, I think the way he's been written and the movies in which he's been placed, I think he has excelled, but maybe the material that he's working with hasn't been the greatest.
Some of it. I mean, Batman v Superman, I think there were some weaknesses in that. But as far as the idea of that version of Superman, I'm not so closely tied to the comics. I didn't really quite grow up with them and gravitate towards them. So seeing it as just kind of on its own merits, I liked the twists and turns of the new Superman and some of the darker, grittier stuff that they put him through the ringer on.
Okay.
So, yeah. But yeah, I saw that he fits the old suit. Obviously, he fits the new suit. So
Yep.
That was good play.
He is an excellent Superman. I really do like him. He's not Christopher Reeve still is my heart, but
yeah, too bad we can't pair him up with Richard Pryor.
Oh. Superman 3.
Oh gosh.
Yep. All right, what else you got?
Well, so I mean, I guess just kind of speaking of Superman and what you expect from him, modern day Avengers. You've got Captain America. He's definitely, I would say, thought of in similar fashion. He's the White Knight. He's all about the freedom, willing to go to civil war for it. But one thing that I do know from comics is that there's been more than one Captain America, right? I mean, you go through some versionings. Like there's only really been one Superman. I know there's kind of some twists with like Bizarro and so forth, but some of those superheroes do kind of go through iterations. Captain America being one of them. But we think about the Avengers movies in the MCU, and there's really only one version of Captain America, but contracts are running out. Avengers 4 has got to change some things. We know that they're the major Avengers characters. Not all of them are going to want to come back. It's been, openly stated. So what do they do with Captain America? And
that's
of course,
question.
Do they replace him? Does he just kind of go into the background? Popular thought is potentially Bucky kind of takes the role.
Right, because that was a comic book line. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right, but I mean, I kind of think about that, and there's some deviation from the comic book line, I think.
Yeah. The
like
storyline's different. Yep.
Bucky this time around is definitely just a sidekick character. He's not really put into the Great American Way. Some very dark things have happened to him. I think it would be a stretch. Sebastian Stan, he agrees with me. I think I had the idea first, but
he called you to get your opinion before he formulated his.
He did. We were in alignment. We actually had some barbecue. So I'm just saying. But no, he obviously no confirming or denying. Nobody's going to be talking about things. I don't know if they even know. Maybe we see something in Avengers 4. There's got to be some kind of passing of the torch in some fashion to some of those things. But
something. I've thought about it. Like I've wondered, if they're going to kind of follow that storyline. Here's the thing, though. Like, do you think that would be too dark of a character to like take up the Captain America mantle?
Well, yeah, that's kind of exactly what that's the approach that Sebastian Stan's taken on it. I agree. In the comics, I would think that there's probably, there's like that seed planted that you can grow. I don't see any seed here. He is a dark character. Sure, he's come to the light. He's a good fighter, that kind of stuff, but there's just never been that whole moment of taking up the mantle and giving that one scene, that one moment that pulls him in a way that he can't pull away from. Maybe that happens in Avengers 4. That's certainly possible, but yeah, that would be grim.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if something happened where, like, because of something he did in the next Avengers movie, like, Cap dies, and so he feels, like, responsible and, like, guilty, and so he decides he wants to take up in honor of his friend, who he's been friends with, now for, like, 70, 80 years, I mean, including some, time on ice. Maybe I could see something like that, but, like, is it possible? Yes. Story-wise, do they have to go a distance in order to make that happen? I think so.
And maybe, I mean, just, since we're entertaining the notion, I could see something like maybe him being thrust into the mantle like you had just described, but, obviously with the dark past kind of stuff, an opportunity for vengeance comes into play. His ability to honor the shield, as it were, is put into question, and maybe it's taken from him. I don't know. I mean, and Captain America, and this isn't going to spoil anything if you haven't seen the movie because you've seen the trailers. Captain America's kind of gone through a transformation from like where he was in, Captain America, the First Avenger, to where he was at in Winter Soldier, to where he was at in Civil War. And so, like, he grew a beard.
Yeah, he grew a beard, which means he's darker and more mysterious. Or as my wife says, I don't know. I mean, Captain America is not the Captain America we see in Avengers Infinity War is not the same Captain America we saw in the first Avenger, his first film. He's fitting more in and, figuring out his place in the world and realizing that, times have changed. And, the events of Civil War, I think were really, I mean, if you watch that movie, you could really see that he understands that, the way he used to do things, though, the values he believed, not a lot of people believe that anymore. And so that's hard for him.
Right. The people that paid the bills are the ones that he's now having to push back against. And, So yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It's all speculation at this point for Avengers 4. And after seeing Infinity War, I can't even. I'm just stand back, let it happen, because I'm going to be wrong no matter what comes out of that.
So speaking of Avengers, real quick, I want to give you an update. So we said that Avengers Infinity War made, I think it was like $258 million domestic its first weekend.
Mm-hmm.
This has been out now just a little over 2 weeks.
Yep.
And domestically, it's now up to 461. So it's almost, double, or not double, but almost made again the money that it made the first weekend in the week or so since it's come out.
Which is still pretty phenomenal, because, I mean, obviously everybody and their dog saw it that first weekend to hit those numbers.
So just to put this in frame of reference, domestically, it's currently sitting at 13th of all time. However,
in 2 weeks,
in 2 weeks, I'm looking at the ones above it. So here are the movies that are above it: Episode 1, Phantom Menace; Finding Dory; Beauty and the Beast; Rogue One; Dark Knight; Star Wars: Last Jedi; Marvel's Avengers; Jurassic World; Titanic; Black Panther, which is at number 3, which came out this year; Avatar, and then Force Awakens.
I'm actually surprised to hear Rogue One in that list, to be honest. I know.
Rogue
I mean,
One.
I loved it, but I mean, it was not the most popular Star Wars movie, right? So.
No, but it did get a lot of money though in the theaters. So here's the thing. I'm looking at like the difference between Avengers: Infinity War and let's say like, that's at 13, to jump up to something like, The Last Jedi. Well, I mean, we're only talking like another $120 million to get it up into the rank of like getting it into like the 5th, 6th, 7th area.
So if we look at it kind of like a logarithm where we're expecting, from week 1 to week 2, the amount of time doubles to make the same amount of money, that's still only 2 more weeks.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, it's going to drop off, but if this thing runs for another month and a half, 2 months in the theaters, I think it could crack the top 3. And the top 3 being, Force Awakens at $936 million, Avatar $760 million, and then Black Panther $693. I think it could jump Black Panther. Avatar and Force Awakens might be harder.
Well, I mean, because in looking at the math of this, you kind of look at trends, and obviously Infinity War smashed everything that first weekend, but the habits of people that view it, everybody going to see it that first week, it being very plot heavy versus, I mean, there's definitely some good action in the movie. Do not get me wrong, but it's definitely a plot heavy movie. I don't know if it's going to hold up. What I would love to see would be the trend that those same movies had that were in the top 3, to see their whole trend for that first couple months,
right?
And see if we're kind of following the same kind of.
Yeah. Yep. Just to give you the other side of this, I want to give you the worldwide right now. So it's 13th domestic. Worldwide right now, it's sitting about 15th. It's coming in somewhere like around $1.5 billion right now, which currently, like, the worldwide gross at 1.5 billion. Like right now, if you look at the box office, it shows that it's sitting about 1.2, but I checked some more recent updates that puts it about 1.5. 1.5 puts it right around 5th, 6th place right now. And it still I think it still has to open in China. And
and Russia.
I think it just and Russia. So I mean, China's a big market, so that could help jump it up quite a bit as well. So China
can be fickle though.
It can. That's true.
I don't think that's going to happen here though. I think it's
going to be big.
Yeah.
I definitely think it's going to be real big. So worldwide, I mean, it has the, it could go all the way to the top.
I still wonder how Avengers 4 is going to shake out in that mix. I did see the poster from, it would be, I think, much more impressive if Disney did not own Lucas and Marvel at this point, but the whole passing the lightsaber kind of thing from Force Awakens to Infinity War.
Yeah.
Man, I also saw another poster another GIF, meme, whatever the heck. Kid watching, like little kid, maybe 8, 9 years old, watching the first Avengers movie or Iron Man or something like that. But then, showing you would presume to be the same kid 10 years later. That 8-year-old is now an 18-year-old. Like the impact of these movies growing up with somebody and having there be so many. And I mean, I know I grew up with Star Wars, but that was 3 movies.
Right.
That was not an entire universe constantly developing.
It's not like 20 movies. Yeah.
Right. Anyway.
Huh. Interesting.
Well,
do you have anything else? I have one other thing.
No, I think that was everything I wanted to revisit from episode 71. So,
okay, so this is just a real quick thing. You remember a little while ago, we were talking about this this whole thing, and I've talked about it on the podcast before, and you and I've kind of talked about how Disney is trying to do this big purchase of Fox and specifically 21st Century Fox because,
Because Spider-Man.
Because Spider-Man, right. No, but because, they're going to get all the movie properties and the TV, but we've talked about Fantastic Four and X-Men and like what we'd love to see happen.
Yeah.
So we need to hold our horses a little bit because there's a new player in the game. Comcast is now trying to ruin Disney's acquisition of 21st Century Fox. And here's the thing. Comcast is going and basically going to try to make a cash offer. All cash offer for this, because like right now, I think Walt Disney's basically trying to get it for like, how was I say, like $52 billion, I think is the cost, because there's a bunch of other stuff. It's not just the movies and TV. Yeah. There's,
of course,
a bunch of other stuff, controlling some stake in Hulu, and in Europe, I think it's the Sky Network. Anyway, Comcast is going to try to come in at the 11th hour with a $60 billion bid, cash bid. But basically, they're waiting for a federal judge to approve the AT&T acquisition of Time Warner. Here's the thing, though. Apparently, Bob Roberts, is it Bob Roberts? Yeah. The CEO of Comcast.
Or like I call him, Double Bob.
Right. Pretty much hates Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney. And there's apparently like bad blood between the two of them. And so, like, not only is this a business decision, but it's also kind of a personal vendetta, and they're going to make it personal. And it's like, really? You're talking about billions of dollars, and it's going to become a personal thing?
Yeah, I don't know. Even if they wanted to make it personal, I don't think they could get away with it. I mean, there's a board of directors behind this somewhere. A CEO's job is to make money for a business, to sell it off if they're gonna. And you can be talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's still a big deal. We're talking billions here.
Billions.
Now, billions.
Here's what I wonder though. Disney, I know for sure Disney would counter any offer that Comcast is going to make, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's just another dot on the Pac-Man board.
Right. They want this. However, I wonder if they're secretly like, it's a personal thing, and they're like, let's see if we can make them spend even more money to get this. We'll put in an offer.
The good old auctioneer's trick.
Yeah, I just wonder. But anyway, I mean, this may not go anywhere. It may. Me personally, I hope Disney gets the rights to Fox, because I want to see Fantastic Four done well and brought into the MCU. I want to see the X-Men brought into the MCU. Deadpool. I mean, Deadpool would be in the MCU. I want to see these things. However, we're just going to have to wait. But what is Comcast going to do with that stuff?
Provide you really crappy customer support if you get poor sound at the movie. I don't know. I know that Comcast has been trying to play into stuff like that. I know that the Time Warner acquisitions here and there with everything have been a big deal with the FCC since I started tech support, 25 years ago.
Right.
I would imagine Comcast is looking to kind of try to make some play around being content providers of their own, try to pull a Netflix. Maybe they've got some other crafty idea for how they want to, create and provide content, because they have their own platform for it, right? Yeah. It's exclusive.
Well, I mean, they have NBC.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
they're already kind of doing that, so.
Yeah, well, they're managing a network that already existed in that fashion.
True. But yeah.
But I know this isn't just about the Fox characters, but it's big in the Fox superheroes rather, but they're still big enough that has to be part of what people are considering.
Sure.
So, I don't know. Hey guys, maybe you just sell off the comic book properties to Disney and then you can have the rest. I don't care.
All right. That was the last thing I had. I just thought it was really interesting because we talked about it a little while ago, and it's kind of coming back up, and it's interesting because, there's this whole personal vendetta thing that could be going on.
I know we've had big superhero movies before, but superheroes have never been at the level of economic importance in the world that they are now.
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
crazy. And I love it.
All right, well, I'm done. Last week we talked about obviously Avengers: Infinity War. It was our movie club episode.
Did we? I can't remember.
Yeah. We had a chat. Our question of the week was: Is Avengers: Infinity War this generation's Empire Strikes Back?
Boo.
And this is it's people are going to make this comparison. So we asked you, the Super Friends, what you thought, and let's go to some of the answers you sent in. We're going to start always like we do over at the email, and we have an email from Peter Christensen. He says, "Dear nerds, welcome aboard, Stu.
Woohoo.
I can hear your conversation. Spence like a raging fire, Stu like a smoldering fire."
This is not Ragnarok.
He says, regarding MoviePass, having followed venture capital-backed startups for a decade, the trajectory of MoviePass's offering doesn't surprise me. Offer something enticing but unsustainable to attract customers, then massage that into something sustainable or lose all the money and go out of business. I don't think MoviePass selling data will make much of a difference. Yeah. Movies marketing is a well understood problem. The route to sustainability is deals with theater chains. When MoviePass can show a localized increase in attendance and presumably concessions, they have a strong hand to share revenue with theaters. I don't think MoviePass will affect box office records, especially now with the one movie restriction.
Sure.
But it could give life back to the missing middle class of movies that have been vanishing towards blockbusters and film festival indies. This isn't all of it. I'm going to take a quick break here. They did talk this week, just like end of last week. They got rid of the unlimited. You could go get the 4 movies a month plus the unlimited, 3-month trial of iHeartRadio. Well, Mitch Lowe, the CEO of MoviePass, as I said, no, we are bringing back the unlimited. You can go get the $10 a month unlimited right now if you want. And they said we plan to always keep that around. So it seems like, it seems like they got a lot of negative feedback on that, and then they were like, okay, no, we're going to double down, we're going to go back to it. So just interesting. Now they have not removed the one movie viewing restriction, they say, on select movies, which means every big popular movie.
Well, yeah, I mean they have to block the hemorrhage somewhere.
Yes,
and that's it.
Okay, so going back to the email, just a little side to go with his MoviePass comment. It says, Steve recommended bringing down the house? Yeesh.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. He says, yes, I think that Infinity War was this generation's Empire Strikes Back. I said as much in my spoiler review last week, which I couldn't read. He says, I reserve the right to retract this if the next movie blows it. I just hope I don't have to see Hulk in a gold bikini next year.
Well, I think Hulk would be the analog to Jabba the Hutt there. Well.
Thank you, Peter. I love that. It is interesting. Like,
and then Rocket Raccoon would have to be the little frog thing that he smashes and eats.
Right? He does make a good point. Like, it's set up to be this generation's Empire Strikes Back, but it all depends on what happens next, because Empire, while an amazing movie on its own, and the way they ended it was amazing and great, Return of the Jedi was a good follow-up to it, and you had to find a way to, how to follow that up. Like, how do you pick up the pieces? How do you move on? So,
right, yeah. A New Hope was its own movie, but Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi don't exist without the trilogy they take part in.
Yes, exactly. Going over to Facebook, Chase Van Orden, our first guest ever on the podcast, The Fortress of Nerditude, says, though I wasn't alive when Empire came out, and as much as wasn't made to wait for Return of the Jedi, the outcome of Infinity War is very analogous to the I Am Your Father and the Scattered Heroes ending of Empire. So he's saying analogous. Why did I say analogous? I'm so tired. Analogous. Oh, man.
Analgesus. Wait.
Analogious. Okay.
Lugius.
Thank you, Chase. I do see that. Caleb Albers. Buckle up. Just saying that right now. So I'm going to start off by defending my favorite hero after the minor bashing he got. The Hulk and Banner's relationship is constantly changing. Even in the comics, it changes all the time. And because they are two very different individuals sharing the same body. And it is because they're two different individuals sharing the same body. So imagine doing that. Even in our own lives, living with someone is like that in its own way. But instead of sharing a living space, you're sharing a nightmare that is living in someone else's consciousness. At first, like in Incredible Hulk, Banner's constantly fighting back and forth with Hulk until he knows that the only way to beat the bad guy is to turn control over to the Hulk. And in Avengers, he goes from never releasing the Hulk for a long period of time to being accepting of his role in the fight and releasing the Hulk from his own free will rather than being forced to change. In Age of Ultron, he shares the body equally. He still doesn't like becoming the Hulk because he does not like not being in power, but he understands the Hulk is needed sometimes. The Hulk was released out of force again by Scarlet Witch, and after the big fight in Africa, Hulk was scared. He feels remorse, just like we all do. He thought he was finally being accepted, then this incident happens, and he's suddenly back to being the feared monster. So he takes advantage of an escape, and in Thor Ragnarok, he finds a world where he is practically worshipped, and he doesn't want Banner to ruin that for him, so he locks him up, just like he did to Hulk for so long. And Banner was pissed. But he knows what Hulk felt like. And even though Hulk was ripped from his home, he still fought on Asgard, where the people looked to him like a hero. And finally, in Infinity War, Hulk was so used to being the guy that won all the fights that the others couldn't. In his mind, he was the strongest one there is, and no one could challenge him in a physical battle. But being put up against Thanos, who is a superior fighter, and at least when it comes to skill, because everyone knows it's not how strong you are, it's how you use your strength, Hulk thought going in that this was one of those cases, but it wasn't. And he realized for the first time that he is not invincible, which scares the living crap out of him. So, as mad as I was not to see Hulk, as much as I liked in Infinity War, his and Banner's story arc is still one of the best in the MCU, and I'm hoping that he realizes he is still the strongest and beats the crap out of Thanos, because in the comics, Thanos has stated time and time again that he actively avoids physical battles with the Hulk.
So who was it that wrote that?
Caleb Albers, and then I'll get to his actual answer.
So, I love the rundown, but my thought here is that you have just put more thought into how to write Hulk than they have writing him into the movies. I see the arc, and I see that there's some direction there. I just don't think that they've taken a really thorough approach or even necessarily cared enough to really bring out what you see there. I think that you have to really kind of be identifying with that to kind of pull those details out. But from where I'm sitting, I haven't really gotten that sense, and it's felt really cut apart and contrasting every time. Not that it's flowed into that idea of what the Hulk is becoming through this. It's very disjointed for me.
You know, like when I read through this, I see what Caleb's saying, and I don't disagree with him, but I do agree with you, Stu. I think like if you look at Captain America, his story arc through the movies is very clear, very defined. Like,
yes,
it's well done to the level that like it's really easy to follow, and some of the others, even some of the more minor characters like Black Widow, like you can see kind of her character arc and follow along. Thor definitely has, this big character arc that's easier to follow. Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man.
Sure. And I like that you brought up Black Widow because she's really an analog to Hulk in this. She has not had her own movie.
Right.
She's actually appeared less than Hulk, but you definitely follow her. She's not she doesn't have a lot of amazing depth like the Hulk does.
Sure.
But it's still, you can get from point A to point B with Black Widow without her having her own movie. And Hulk even has, but let's just put that back in the archive because his movie was not a part of the MCU. His real story has been the growth through the MCU. Yeah. From Avengers on. But I mean, I agree. I see the point, and I think if you look hard enough, you can see those things there. I just don't think the transition through those stages has really made that clear to everybody watching the movies.
I love Hulk. I love Hulk. I wish that he maybe got a little bit better treatment so that this arc that Caleb is pointing out and that I do agree with. I wish it was a little clearer, a little better defined, because then it would stand out just a little bit more, which I think would be what it needs.
Yep.
But anyway, that's my take on it. He says, anyway, getting to your question, yes, it is this generation's Empire Strikes Back. This movie was fantastic in every possible way, and I can't wait to see where this story goes. Okay. Fair enough.
So Stu won, everyone else infinity. Got it.
Right. And let's keep this train rolling. So going over to Twitter, Paul Calicote at pcalico84, a former guest co-host here. Paul, what is up? He says, okay, so I have 3 answers to give. Hashtag King Slow. So, number 1, D&D. I was too busy riding my bike around town and getting into trouble, so I never got into D&D. 2, reviews. I don't know. I'm weird. Sometimes they sway me. Sometimes they don't. Still have not watched Stranger Things. Boo.
Wow.
Come on, Paul. Come on, Paul. He says, number 3, Infinity War equals Empire? ? I'm saying yes, but with a little more oomph because of the last 10 years of buildup. In all the podcasts I've listened to last week, every person's theater sat in almost silence as the credits rolled. I'm 33 years old and seen a lot of movies, and that's never happened before.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Everyone I've heard talk about the movie said the exact same thing. He says, keep up the good work, guys. Else time, Paul Calico. He says, P.S. Please tell me Karen will be back in Spidey 7 prom.
What?
That I'm not sure what that meant.
I don't get it. So that's the question of the week. What the heck did he just mean?
What is Spidey 7 prom?
I don't know.
I'm going to say autocomplete did a number there on him.
Or either that or we just failed at nerditude.
Maybe. Anyway, Super Friends, thank you so much for answering the question of the week. We appreciate it. We love interacting with you. So keep it up. You can reach us at all the normal places. The email, which is fortofnerd@gmail.com. Facebook, which is facebook.com/fortofnerd. On Twitter @fortofnerd. Or the telephone number you can call in, 801-477-7687. And, just keep it up, man. We appreciate all of the nerd love you show us week in and week out.
Yes, sir.
Stu, how can our Super Friends help us this week?
Go to iTunes.
And?
I gotta say, I love that so much. Go to iTunes. Give us a 5-star rating. It's important for all the algorithms to bring it kind of out to the top, bring some visibility to us. Leave some good comments if you like. We love seeing it there. But yeah, 5 stars. 5 stars. Click it.
I've heard that if you give a 5-star review and you say good things about us, that a meteor may crash in a vicinity near you and you may be able to possess the Infinity Gauntlet. I've heard this. I don't know. I can't confirm. But you should probably go give it a review just in case.
Yeah, let us know how that works.
Yeah. Good. Okay, so Stu, I have something I want to ask you. I saw this last week. Something came to my attention that I thought I'd bring up. Are you a big fan of Arrested Development?
Big fan? No. But I have enjoyed it.
Okay.
It definitely hits a couple marks. It's not something that I would ever really seek out, but if I've got nothing else going on, I've watched it. So yeah, it's okay.
So I was a big fan of Arrested Development. I was late to the party. I did not see it when it was originally on TV.
Sure, same here.
But the DVDs and those first 3 seasons, I find such humor in those. I love them. Like I can go a couple of years and then I'll watch the whole series, and then let a couple more years go by, and then I can get back into them again. Because we're only talking 22 episodes, and they're half an hour each. So you can knock through them pretty quick.
At least it's not 10 full seasons of The Friends.
Right. Which takes a lot longer to get through on Netflix. Which I think we stalled out in like 6 or 7 just recently. I've been trying to watch it because my wife Brita loves it anyway. So this is an interesting thing. So obviously Arrested Development was a show. It was on TV. it got canceled. They put out the DVDs, and the DVDs did fantastic business. So much so that years later, they were talking, Mitch Hurwitz, the creator, just talking about resurrecting Arrested Development.
Yep.
And they ended up going to Netflix. And it was interesting because it went to Netflix, and they did 15 episodes, but each episode filmed was basically just followed like one character. And that was different than the way that the original 3 seasons were filmed.
Yeah, I can kind of see why they would take that direction, especially if you're like changing platforms for it. You know, you can kind of explore that a little differently. And there were a lot of characters in that show, and
well, the big
so
reason
I
think they did it this way is not all the actors were available at the same time. So by changing the way they filmed it and presenting it a little differently, they were able to like film an episode with, you know, this select cast of actors and actresses that were available, and then they could do some other ones, and you know, because they had to juggle a lot of schedules, but because all the originals wanted to come back and do this. Okay. So what's really interesting to me is something just happened in the Arrested Development world. They took
something
the fourth,
developed.
Ooh. They took the 4th season that universally I would say it was not as beloved as the first 3.
I didn't like it.
And I wasn't a big fan. It had some moments, but I felt it didn't feel as, I don't know, congruous to the others. Like it felt separated. So what's happened now is that they've taken that 4th season and they've re-edited it. They've recut it into 22 episodes, half-hour episodes, and they've mixed it so it feels like the original 3 seasons, where this part here focuses on these characters, then it jumps kind of over to here and focuses on these, which is kind of how the original was. It would kind of bounce back and forth between some storylines. And so the interesting thing is, like, you now can go watch these recut 4th season, but the original version,
have you watched the remix stuff?
I haven't yet. I'm going to. I haven't yet, because what's interesting about this is that they're trying to do this so that it can feel more authentic to the original 3. But
sure.
What's interesting, and this has really piqued my thing, they still have their original first run version of that 4th season on Netflix. However, it's not very easy to find. So normally, you know, if you have a show, it'll show you like all the seasons in that.
Right.
It's not there. You've got to go like specifically seek it out and like look for just the 4th season.
You have
it's
to like put
separate.
in the Konami code.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
You put in the Konami code and the Never Nude runs across the screen.
Right. So what's interesting about this to me is that is Netflix, like, do they feel like embarrassed by what they did before, and so they're kind of trying to hide it? Or do you think maybe it's more like they're just trying to put some focus on the new recut version?
I mean, I'm losing my voice here. It's not uncommon to see director's cuts be almost like an apology to
right.
to editing changes and things like that. And I think that's kind of the I think that's kind of what we're seeing here. I think it's a bit ambitious to just redo the whole thing for an entire season, to re-edit that in a new format that's more familiar. I get why they would do that, but that's tricky. I'm gonna have to see even how to formulate an opinion on the whole thing.
Yeah, and I see a move like this as like, you only do this kind of a move if you're going to bring back the gang and do like a 5th season, or try to like resurrect this show, because otherwise, why would you cause that much attention and do something like this? I see this as like, it's lost money otherwise, if you're not going to follow it up with something, right? You'll see properties that'll like try to come back and they'll try to do something and like get some buzz, maybe, you know, in social media, and then all of a sudden they're like, and now we're announcing we're doing this. And to try to drive, you know, interest so they can, you know, have a fan base kind of already in place.
Yeah, I haven't seen... I haven't seen enough about this to really even think that even if this is an apology, even if they're doing it to garner, the fans who were supportive of the show. I'm on Netflix every day. I didn't even see anything about the cut, and I've watched it, so it's in their little seeded metrics of what I should be interested in. I watch a lot of other sitcom level stuff. This just doesn't feel big enough to me that if they were going to go through all of the effort to re-edit it, that it's really going to get anywhere. It's so invisible to me, which is kind of surprising because I usually see a lot of the things that go on with Netflix. So maybe it's a failed attempt at doing that. Maybe all their seeded metrics of what should be pushing to people maybe got so many downvotes or whatever the case may be that it's just not reaching everybody's seed.
Yeah. The whole thing's interesting to me, right? Because Arrested Development was, a show on Fox, and it did 3 seasons, and they got canceled, right? And then it came back years later,
right,
to Netflix. And basically, like, the only reason it came back was that the DVDs sold so well. And
sure.
and that's always interesting to me, like, right? We live in a new age of media, right? Because let's go back to the original Star Trek. And when that was on TV, it was going to be canceled after the 2nd season, and there was a huge letter writing campaign by the fans, and it stayed for a 3rd season. And then another letter writing campaign to try to save it again, but the writing was on the wall. It was done. But like nowadays, you don't get necessarily that so much, but like you can get, like, hey, the DVD sales sold X number of DVDs, and so let's try to give it let's try to bring it back, which is what happened with Arrested Development. But that Arrested Development's not the only one that's happened to either. Like, this has happened with others as well.
That's interesting because I'm still kind of bitter about Star Trek. We actually invested in purchasing everything for Star Trek on DVD and Blu-ray. Even some HD DVD when that was a thing for about 10 minutes.
Right.
But so yeah, I bought everything, and it was only a month after that when Star Trek started running on Netflix for a while. So it suddenly became streamed, and I was like, okay, well, great. I'm never going to sell these DVDs. But the interesting thing here is you have to be able to support a decision to say create a 4th season of Arrested Development. You have to be able to display the consumer need for that. This is a new format for the show. Unfortunately, there's no historical relevance to anything that's gone on. So what do? You have to go back to the DVD sales. The DVD sales are phenomenal. Right. We're going to use that as the basis to propose we make another season. The problem is that if anything, Netflix killing Blockbuster, all those kinds of things, it's shown us that it's not just the show itself. The method that a show is being consumed in and of itself is one of the determining factors of a success of a show. You couldn't have Stranger Things really work out on network television, I don't think. It wouldn't work as a movie. No. So Arrested Development feels to me like a failed experiment in that model. Even I think they should have stuck with the original format in the first place, change as few variables as possible.
Right. Yeah.
So it's hard also to my own point, it's hard to demonstrate that that's really what it was. But I think it's going to be difficult for a show like Arrested Development, even if they are trying to bridge it into a 5th season. I would expect it not to do well. But you said that there are other things that this is
right. Well, I mean,
done to.
Yeah, like you look at Family Guy, like, right? Because Family Guy was on for a number of seasons, and I believe that was also Fox. Right. And it got canceled, and like it did DVD sales, and it did really well. And they brought back Family Guy. But when they brought back Family Guy, the new seasons feel just like the old seasons. Like, they did not change the format or the formula at all. I mean, granted, it's a little different because you're talking about an animated cartoon and just voice actors versus, physical actors that actually have to be there and all the blocking and all that, that has to go on. But, they brought that one back based on DVD sales and based on, fan outcry.
Right.
But that kept to its original format, and I think it actually became more popular because more people are aware of it, and then they were aware of all the hullabaloo about it, and so more people watched it when it came back than originally.
Now, did it come back to Fox?
Yeah, it went back to Fox.
So yeah, I mean the only variable that changed there was that it ended and that it got brought back. So obviously people wanted the show for what it was, not for something new. That's the variable they changed with Arrested Development. I love Family Guy. I'm not really all that familiar with the history of it, but it's certainly funny. But when I go to watch Family Guy, I'm expecting it to be exactly what it is every time.
Right.
I'm not suddenly going to picture, wanting a whole season where we've got, Stu's got one episode, just Stu, then Meg, right. And to have it be this kind of different approach to everything, you want the same jokes there.
Right. I mean, that's the reason you like this show.
Yep.
Now, but there's been other shows though that let's call it died, right? The show has died for whatever reason. That the show has gone off the air because the studio wasn't getting the ratings it wanted, and fans have wanted to bring it back. And in some cases, some of these shows have been brought back, but usually when a show comes back, I mean, the Family Guy is a rare exception. Usually when a show comes back, it usually jumps to a different network. Another network wants to take a chance on it and take a gamble and say, I think we could do well here. And there's been some big ones. I mean, most recently, the first one that comes to mind to me is Community, because I watched Community on NBC. I got the DVDs, and then basically NBC dropped it. And there was talk about maybe Netflix picking it up, and then, maybe Sony, because it was a Sony Pictures was doing it. Maybe it would go over to Fox.
I have not seen Community.
Oh, so good. I love it. Eventually, Yahoo picked it up, and it went to the Yahoo streaming, and you could watch the entire. They did like one episode a week, and they released it. The problem is that you were in the 6th season. The first 4 seasons are by far the best. The 5th season went downhill. You had a couple cast members that departed at the end of the 4th season. So it was still funny in parts, but just it was missing some of the heart and soul that it originally had. And then when it went to Yahoo, some funny episodes, some good stuff, but it was a little bit different. They didn't have some of the same restrictions that NBC has.
Right.
And so they, some things got changed a little bit, and not a lot, but this happens, right? I mean, there's been other shows that have, kind of died and then jumped to networks.
Supergirl did.
Yeah.
And to be honest, so it started on CBS. It had a season. It was very cheesy, corny, over the top. And I don't feel like it fit with any of this growing hype about superhero shows. But then they pull it into a crossover with the CW Arrowverse stuff, and it kind of works. And so, when you know it, next season, Supergirl's actually on the CW. It's part of their whole Arrowverse offering. I actually really like the writing on Supergirl for a campy superhero TV show. I think it does really well on its own. And it kind of addresses, you've got the feminism aspect in the superhero shows, but she's just really a lovable character. They've got some really good villains. The production quality on the show is pretty outrageous. I would say almost as equal to The Flash. But yeah, it was never going to do that on CBS. Yeah.
Yeah, for whatever reason, right? Like, CBS to me is like the channel you go to watch sitcoms. Like,
it's not where you go to watch Star Trek Discovery.
No, not at all. Bitter subject. Let's move on.
Painful.
Some shows though, like some shows bounce back. Like I know American Idol, right? It was a big Fox show, and eventually just kind of the ratings fell off, and so Fox let it go. And then this year, ABC picked it up, right? And they're running with it, and apparently, like it's doing big business on ABC. So and I think they pretty much kept the same format. 3 judges, singing competition. Ryan Seacrest, is the host. Like they brought back kind of the same thing, but I hear it's doing really, really well.
He's like the next Dick Clark of TV.
Like he works for like Dick Clark Productions. Yeah. Has worked with Dick Clark. That's him. But then there's this other one that I that I saw and I want to mention that this one I worry about because I don't think the format change is going to happen for this show, but I think that where it went from and where it's going to is going to hinder its ability to be seen. And I'm talking about Sesame Street. So Sesame Street famously, I think most people probably know PBS because of Sesame Street.
Right.
On some level.
Or at least the smattering of children's television workshop kind of things that all sprang from Sesame Street.
Yes, exactly. But Sesame Street is no longer on PBS. Sesame Street has now gone to HBO.
So they could introduce all the violence and swearing that show was missing.
That's right. I would steer clear of Oscar the Grouch. He's going to shiv you.
Snuffleupagus appears on the next season of Sopranos.
Right. Yeah, Big Bird's all strung out on coke. I mean, it's weird. It's weird.
We need to formulate some ideas and pitch this.
What's interesting about this, right, is that it's probably not going to be a format change, but it's a drastic change from going from public access television to a cable channel that's a paid for subscription channel. And so I got to think that viewership's going to take a dip for sure. Because how many parents are like, hey, let me turn on HBO in the middle of the day so my kids can watch Sesame Street? Because you never know, like, hey, you watch Sesame Street for this hour, but then it's going to roll over to the next, current season of Game of Thrones, and you're going to watch, dragons eviscerating, everyone. I mean...
Yeah. Well, I mean, so part of that problem there, though, is the death of PBS. Public funding has dropped like crazy. Fundraisers are ineffective. We've got consumable content everywhere we want to have it. PBS is just really dying out, and government support for that has dwindled to almost nothing. NPR's kind of taken some of the brunt of that as well. It's really difficult for a show to be able to thrive and live like that. So your options are either basically HBO or Netflix. Netflix, I would have actually kind of imagined picked it up, or at least, it becomes a Disney property or something. HBO is a little bit of a surprise to me, but HBO is pretty famous for all the funding for production, that they're going to put into something. So
true,
they can make a good show out of it. I just don't think it's going to have any hitch to it that's going to have people either purchasing HBO to watch Sesame Street or watching Sesame Street because they have HBO. It's going to be an accidental, intersection of consumer and availability that I see that kind of as the death. Even if it moved to HBO, it's dead to me now.
Oh, so sad. So sad. Poor Oscar the Grouch.
I think, oh my God. Suddenly now,
Bert and Ernie?
No, Won't You Be My Neighbor? Oh my God.
Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers. Oh, I think he's rolling over in his grave. And just rolled again because I couldn't come up with his name. What the actual heck? Anyway, yeah, that's disappointing.
Yeah. So I'm always interested in the idea of, shows that kind of die and then come back. That fans, right? The fan support, DVD sales, whatever it is, streaming metrics, anything stuff that gets brought back, because there's always the hope, right? As a fan, as a nerd, we hold something in our heart. And I think everyone I've talked to, if I say like, what's one thing you'd want to see come back?
Firefly.
There you go. That's exactly right. I'm the same way. Firefly. And like Firefly is interesting because Firefly, got canceled early. Fox moved it around on the time schedule. And then the DVD sold so well that they ended up doing the movie Serenity. And the movie Serenity was, it was a good movie. I liked it. I think it felt pretty good in the universe that Firefly was in.
Yes. But it did not satisfy the need for that show to keep living.
Right. And I still want the show to go on. I still want to be out there in the verse. That's all there is to it.
There is a board game.
There is a board game, and there's some comics, and I have the comics. So like I think in nerddom, like we all kind of hold on to these, these little things. Like we keep a candle lit for these properties, these entities that we want to see brought back. And obviously we talked about how, letter writing campaigns kept Star Trek on the air, an extra season or so.
And hey, we've got the internet now to send death threats to people who don't write things or continue things the way that we want. So we can leverage that.
Right. For good or for bad, apparently. So I think that should be our question of the week. Like what Super Friends, what is the one thing you want to see brought back, or what's the thing you would hope they would bring back, whether that's a TV show, whether maybe it's, a continuation of a movie series, or maybe even like a video game series. Maybe there was a video game series you loved, but then it just kind of died and you wish, like, what's that thing? What is that thing that you hold that candle for that you want to see brought back? Obviously, Stu, it sounds like for you, Firefly.
Yeah, for sure. I would like to actually expand that question a little bit, because there are things that you see come back in a new iteration. Superheroes are definitely, if you have a series and it comes back like 10 years later, it's a whole new format, different actors and stuff. I'd be curious to see if it's something like you want it to be a continuation of what existed before, or do you want it to just be a new iteration of that, and do you want to see something new with that? But I would be interested to see what our Super Friends think of, and I would challenge people to think of something besides Firefly. I know Firefly is near and dear to a lot of people. Say Firefly if that's what you mean, but I would like to. I'm curious to see what else people would want.
I'll give you another one other than Firefly, because I'll let you have Firefly.
Okay.
Battlestar Galactica.
Well, you're gonna get your wish.
What?
There's been a new Battlestar in production for a little while.
They're going to do a new BSG?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we need to talk after this because I want details. Yeah, I really loved that show. I thought the way they ended it was unsatisfying, and
yes.
And I really love that. But Super Friends, that's our question of the week. What is the one thing you would like to see brought back? And would you like to see it be a continuation of what it was before, or would you like to see it, changed or rebooted in some way? And let us know. You can get us all the normal places: the email, the Facebook, the Twitter, the voicemail. Hit us up. We will read your answers to our questions next week. And that's it, man. That's all I got for tonight for this episode.
Sounds good, man. I know it's been a rough week for both of us. Hopefully things can kind of wind down and we can come at this next week hard and heavy. It'll be interesting to see how things develop with my Portland travel, but I'll be back in the weekend and hopefully just get a chance to play some board games. I've got that kind of on the docket with my board game group, so I'd love to talk about that next week and
nice.
See what shows we can pitch to Kickstarter to bring back.
Right, exactly. All right, well, from all of us here at the Fortress of Nerditude to all of you out there, wherever you may be, may the Force be with you. Always.